Well, guys, I just finished watching Monday Night Raw. Well, I finished watching Monday Night Raw in its entirety, something I haven't done in a while. Usually I just have Raw on in the background. And I look up whenever something interesting happens, but usually it acts as white noise. And if anything really interesting catches my attention, I'll just, recapture it over on the YouTube, just see like the little clips WWE puts up. But today I decided to make a point to just sit back, watch Raw in its entirety. And oh boy, this was quite a show. And not necessarily in a good way either. But you definitely felt its length. Raw does not need to be 3 hours. Like, holy moly, I think I was tapping out close to by the end of hour two. And by the time hour three rolled around, there was like, hold on, I took notes too. There was this horrible segment with the 24/7 title that I felt like if I didn't tell myself that I was going to sit through Raw in its entirety tonight, I would have tapped out then. I probably wouldn't even have made it to that point. I probably would have tapped out after hour one. That being said, we are building towards Survivor Series. WWE's handling of Survivor Series as a concept is poor. There's no real reason for a team captain. There's no real reason for any of these guys to want to fight in the name of brand supremacy, quote unquote. There's no real reason for any of these guys to be fighting at the pay per view, other than it's that time of year again for WWE to have a Survivor Series pay per view. I'm just want to quickly go through some of the things about on Raw and give you my thoughts because I have quite a few of them. Because, like I said, it's been a while since I've watched Raw in its entirety. But we open with The Miz. Lovely. They hype up a six-man tag for later. Orton interrupts because Miz was teasing, cashing in. Drew's not having it. The segment basically ends with 3-on-1 on Drew McIntyre. It's supposed to be a thing to hype up the main event, which is whatever. We then get the Matt Riddle versus Jeff Hardy versus Elias. It's a Survivor Series qualifying match, and it's advertised for next. The match was fine. There was just a really fake looking setup for Jeff's poetry in motion that just took me out of the match. I was like, okay, it's fine. But then there's like a point where Jeff he like kicks Matt Riddle into Elias up into the corner, but Matt Riddle then stumbles and gets on all fours long enough for Jeff to get up, run to the opposite side, and then run up and do the poetry in motion. Dumb and fake, didn't like it, took me out of the match. Then Riddle wins and joins Team Raw. Didn't expect that. I thought since Matt Riddle was, and amidst these allegations and the changing of the name and the rumors of him having heat backstage and being in the doghouse, I just didn't think it was going to happen. Perhaps he's going to be the first one gone in Survivor Series, but I guess we'll see what happens there. Sheamus doesn't like Riddle on the team. AJ wants a team meeting. And while Strowman and Sheamus denounce AJ as team captain. Again, is there even a reason to have a team captain? Retribution have a promo. Mia chimed in and it was really awkward. She was never really a great talker. She had some moments in NXT, but here, the voice didn't match the look, and it just felt very goofy. She didn't say much, but that was just more than enough.
But it's easy to feel alone when you're manipulated and misguided. But where does that leave you? Barely afloat, gasping for each and every breath while some pink, green-haired trash is laughing at our suffering.
What else did I write here? I said teams should be forgotten. Oh yeah, because Retribution. Okay, so by this point, yes, I still thought that, but by the end of Raw, there might be some hope for the group yet, but we'll see because I did have a problem with that match as well. Oh yeah, Drew Gulak tries to join the Hurt Business. Now, the Hurt Business is gold. I love the Hurt Business. I think Bobby Lashley is a star. He shouldn't be fiddling around in the mid card division. As the United States champion. I think the U.S. title should go to either Cedric or Shelton. I love MVP, but him as the mouthpiece is fine enough. He doesn't need to hold a belt. I think Lashley, if anything, should be in the WWE title picture. You know what I mean? I just envision an era where Hurt Business holds all the gold, kind of like how the Undisputed Era did. So he wants to join, because he was the 24/7 champ at the time. But there was like a joke with the clip-on tie. Drew Gulak actually had a pretty funny line where he said that the clip-on tie was tactical just in case he was on the run and needs to make a quick getaway.
It's tactical. I'm the 24/7 champion. I have to get away. It just saves time.
I like that. That was pretty good. But the Hurt Business isn't having it and basically beats him down. R-Truth wins back the title to become a 43-time champion. Oh boy, this 24/7 title stuff just needs to go away at this point. I think it's already run its course. No, not. I think it already has run its course. I don't think there's anything else you can do with the belt. I think this is why they got rid of the hardcore belt, because while it can be entertaining in like doses, overall, it's not very entertaining. Like, it's the same thing every time. You have a champion, he runs away, group of guys try to win the belt. Rinse and repeat. Lana versus Shayna Basler. Oh god. The match was awful. Lana was waiting in the ring for like 5 minutes. She waited through a commercial, the WWE We Love the Veterans ad, and a recap of last week's Raw. Like 5 minutes waiting until Shayna's entrance. Incredible. So Lana and Shayna are fighting. I don't really care why. I know they represent Team Raw. Shayna wins. I don't really know what else to say about that. They try to put Lana through the table, but Mandy and Dana stopped them because they said we need to be a team. So that was the end of hour 1, and holy shit. It was kind of hard to get into hour 2, but I guess we will. Hour 2. Lana tries thanking Mandy and Dana, but they don't accept. There's just more bad acting by Dana. Can this girl do anything? Sure, she's athletic, but god damn, she's a horrible wrestler. And she's a horrible actress. Every time she's on screen, she makes me want to watch her less. AJ hosts the team meeting, and everyone argues. It's fake, it's phony. It's just a garbage segment. I didn't really care for it. So moving on. Oh, it's basically acts as a way to transition to our next match, which is a tag team. It was the 5 members of Team Raw in a tag team match with AJ as the referee. Matt Riddle and Keith Lee versus Sheamus and Braun Strowman. Riddle pinned Sheamus with a roll-up after AJ unnecessarily got involved because Strowman had Riddle up for a move. Sheamus blind tagged in and AJ pulled Riddle off Strowman and said, "Yo, you're not legal anymore. You can't do this move." Like, it just felt so contrived. It was just more lame comedy stuff. Like, AJ was hit a couple of times in the match, even was pancaked by the 2 big guys, Keith Lee and Strowman. It was just very, very not good. Speaking of not good, we move on to Nikki Cross, who confronts Alexa backstage. She blames herself for Alexa's transformation. Alexa chooses Bray and more bad acting. Bobby Lashley and MVP preview Survivor Series for Sami Zayn, and also say that next week the Hurt Business will get a Raw Tag Team title shot against the New Day. I just want to say I want the Hurt Business to win. I think the New Day, their whole shtick, their whole gimmick, it's stale, it's run its course and shit. Get the titles off those clowns and put them on a more legitimate team. Like the duo of Shelton and Cedric, they could use the rub of this match and be in a high-profile, quote-unquote, match at Survivor Series. It's only high profile because WWE says so, but otherwise it's just whatever. But Titus interrupts, and MVP offers Titus a chance to walk away. Titus wants a title match because, Basically, Bobby Lashley hasn't defended in a while, which is, I didn't really notice, but I guess that's true. So an impromptu US title match turns into like a couple of minute match. Basically, Lashley squashes Titus, and that was that. Drew and Sheamus catch up backstage. That was fine. It is kind of odd to see a heel and face friendship on screen, but we'll see. I wonder if they're like planting the seeds for something down the line. Nia Jax versus Asuka. It was a bad match with no finish. I kind of called this because if you think about wrestling as like, logically, you have both these women are going into Survivor Series as a champion in a high profile match. So neither of them can afford to lose. This is one of the dumbest things I hate about WWE is that if they don't want anyone to lose, why even have the match? If you want someone to look strong, have them beat someone that can lose, that can afford to lose. But Asuka should be able to beat Nia Jax. She's done it before. But the fact that I get in WWE's eyes, they're both equal because they're champions and they're both representing Raw. They can't go into Survivor Series with a stain on their record. That's not good business. So Nia and Shayna single Lana out after the match because, all 5 members of the Survivor Series team were at ringside, and Lana goes through the table for the 8th week in a row. That was the end of hour 2. In hour 3, at this point, I was like kind of losing it. I mean, I was practically ready to call it quits. I was hoping that the 6-man tag will keep me intrigued, since I do like Randy Orton. But hour 3, R-Truth was set to defend the 24/7 title in a 7-way match. Why? Angel Garza flirts with women, and like he's talking to the camera, and he's saying, "I'm gonna do it all for you" or something. It's all leading towards something, or it's just killing time. Either way, we get to the nonsense that was the 24/7 title match and the constant announcing and the new 24/7 champion and the new 24/7. Oh my god! All right, so I wrote it down. Akira Tozawa wins the 24/7 title first, then Eric, then Drew Gulak, then Tucker, then Drew Gulak, then Tucker again, then Grand Metalik, then Lindsay Dorado, then R-Truth. What a bullshit match. And R-Truth is now a 44-time champion. Why? What? I'm glad the next match is actually a saving grace because Mustafa Ali versus Ricochet was our saving grace for hour 3. I'm just gonna say that just because I do like a lot of Ali's work on 205 Live. At least this match was good. It was competitive, which was a little considering Ricochet's been used as nothing more than just a jobber as of late. Yet he's putting on a competitive match with Retribution's leader. So that kind of makes Ali look a little weak. And I think the finish should have came after Ali hit the backstabber from the top rope. Like when Ricochet kicked out of that, I was a little like, ugh, okay. Why can't they just finish off an obvious big move, something that would pop the crowd if there was a crowd to pop? But it was just strange that it continued because Ricochet cost himself the match by going to the top rope and opting to take out Retribution on the outside for no reason other than to willingly distract himself to give himself an out. So Mustafa Ali, I keep forgetting they changed the pronunciation of his name now. They just give him an out to miss the Phoenix Splash and get caught in the Koji Clutch, but not tap out. He passes out, quote unquote, which I think is bullshit in general just because submissions in wrestling is never consistent. So if you're going to pass out during a submission that's not anything that cuts off airflow or circulation to the head. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't work, and it's bullshit. I just felt it was just a cheap way to protect Ricochet. So then finally we get to the 6-man tag. Randy Orton, Miz, and Morrison versus Drew and New Day. By this point, I was like completely tired out. And apparently Randy was too, because he didn't want to wrestle at all. Didn't even want to be tagged in. In fact, he walked away from the match, which is what I felt like doing after hour 1 of Raw, walking away from the TV. But it ends with Drew beating Morrison with a Claymore. And next week, Drew gets a title rematch with Randy. Really doubt that title changes hands. But I really see the Raw tag team titles change hands next week. I can see that happening. In fact, I want that to happen. But yeah, so that was Monday Night Raw. The November 9th edition of Monday Night Raw. Watching Raw in its entirety it's a struggle just because most of it is just nonsensical garbage in what is considered to be the flagship show of the WWE. I mean, now I think it's SmackDown since, the Fox deal, but for the longest time, Raw was considered the flagship show. And now it's like relegated to just clown show bullshit. Like, what was that 24/7 segment? There's just a lot of eh. This is supposed to be the major leagues of professional wrestling, and I'm just watching for like 3 hours. I feel physically drained. Like, there's some parts of Raw I liked. Some. Compared to 3 hours. Like, all the women's stuff was so bad. I feel bad for Asuka because she's the champion of a piss poor division. There's like no competition on Raw. And that's saying something because I thought since they gutted SmackDown's women's roster that they would take and actually build some feuds, but instead they took Mandy Rose, and not like she was good anyway, but they took her, broke her off and away from Sonya Deville to throw in another useless tag team with what's her face, Dana Brooke. And look at the Iconics. They split them up because I thought they were gonna go off and be single stars. Billie Kay is doing God knows what on SmackDown, being a dumb hoe. But then we have Peyton Royce. She's teaming on Raw in another pointless tag team with Lacey Evans. WWE has absolutely no idea what to do. It's just sad. It's in a sad state of affairs what's going on here in the world wrestling entertainment. But goddamn, this was rough. I don't know if I'll watch Raw in full like this again, but I'll definitely try to give more consistent reviews. So I know I've been kind of slacking with the wrestling content as of late, but that was my experience with Raw. It was not a very good show. As a build Survivor Series, I'm not very interested in what they have to sell me. Good thing I have the network because I would never pay $50, $60 for or whatever it costs to watch this. That's about as much as I can say. It was a show. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that. Should I do this for SmackDown? I like SmackDown because I like Bailey, I like Sasha, I like Roman. Huh. Yeah, we'll see. All right, guys. I'll catch you later. See ya.